if your house is worth $1 million, you're spending less than 1%. In fact, 0.5% on the asking price of your home to obtain potentially tens to hundreds of thousands in the sale. What bank interest rate is going to give you that? What stock is going to give you that in your return on investment, where you're putting forth $2,500, but essentially earning potentially 10 to 100,000 more in the sale?
Yoga has been something that I've been doing now about 2 years now. No, yeah, over 2 years now.
Hot yoga?
Hot yoga. I love it.
And you love it. How often do you go?
I try to go 3 times a week.
Wow.
Do I always make it out 3 times a week? No, but I definitely do my best.
At least once a week.
Minimum.
Wow.
Yeah, minimum. Yeah, unless I'm on vacation or I've gotten like an injury or something like that. But yeah.
Why do you like it so much?
Because it feels like I'm floating in my body now. There's no more aches and pains.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like and I'm not really looking to build muscle, even though you do when you're doing yoga. Like yoga is no joke.
I know.
People think
It's
is,
a workout.
but it's a hell of a workout. It definitely is.
And especially in the heat.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, we are live, just so you know.
Oh, are we? Okay.
Yeah, ready to rock and roll. How you doing, Farah? How you doing, Farah?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here as well too.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're one of the best doing it in the staging business.
Thank
we
you.
first met where? I think at the Kathleen Black event.
Yes, at the Kathleen Black event.
Yeah. And then from there, we just saw each other again another year.
Over and over again.
And then we're like, we got to get together.
Yes.
We got to have a conversation. I got to learn more about you and your
And vice
story.
versa.
And, and I love what you do. I've been following you on Instagram and social media. And you always seem like you're having fun with your team, which
That's
is what I
it's
love.
about. Yes, you have to have fun. It's got to be something that everyone enjoys because life is so short.
We were just talking about that, like when you wake up in the morning, when people say, how are things going? I'm like, I woke up. And that's an important thing.
That's right.
A
lot of people start their day saying, oh, I got to do this. No, you get to do this.
Yes, I like that. You get to do this.
You get to do it.
Yeah.
And when you have that kind of gratitude mindset first thing in the morning, it just leads to such a great day.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you woke up, you're walking, you're breathing. There's a lot of other people that are not in that type of a situation. And, when you have, 100 problems, but then you all of a sudden have one major health problem, those
all
other
other problems
they're
mean
gone.
nothing.
Exactly.
Mean nothing. It puts everything into priority.
It does.
The other thing is also when you get up and you're grateful, then you start attracting opportunities. As opposed to dreading the day, you're excited about what it's going to lead to. Who can you help? Who's going to help you? Who are you going to meet? That's the kind of mindset that really helped me through ups and downs, because I can't control what everyone else is doing.
Right.
But you can control how you feel and how you react to things. So your life is limited. Choose to be happy. Choose not to get frustrated.
Right.
And then you're going to be smiling a lot more, and you're going to look younger and feel great.
Yeah. Life happens, right? But it's how you act to it, how you react to it,
Right.
is really what it comes down to. But and because of that, that's why I have you here today. I want to talk about a few different things with you. I want to get into how and why you left your full-time job, because you did have a good job, and
Had a great
I guess
job.
maybe you weren't fulfilled, but we'll get into that. I also want to talk on the staging that you do. You have an incredible staging business, so I want to touch on that and how you work with realtors and why you should stage. And then I want to kind of wrap it up talking about how do you keep your business going? How do you keep your employees happy and motivated and to see the vision that you have, right? So let's kind of dive into your job. What were you doing in your previous life, and what made you decide to take that leap of faith? Because I think sometimes people get stuck in their jobs, and sometimes they don't like it anymore, and they're like, how do I get out of here? How do I move forward?
Right.
How did you do it? What did you do?
Well, first of all, I loved working as a meteorologist on City TV. It was
Okay.
my dream job to land in Toronto on a big network, becoming a well-known meteorologist for the city. So absolutely loved my job. But at the same time, I realized that the hours I was working weren't conducive to my new family. So I was working from 3 p.m. to midnight because the news was on at 5, 6, and at 11 o'clock.
Right.
So I would leave, say, around 1 o'clock in the afternoon and come home at midnight. And at that time, I had just had my daughter. And I wasn't seeing her. So I thought, well, I really want to do something where I can set kind of my own hours and be more available to her. So that was the first inkling. I always had an eye for design. And my husband had asked me to help design one of his listings. He's also a realtor. And when I did that, his colleagues were all super impressed and asked me to do it for them. And all of a sudden, I realized I had a side hustle without even wanting or realizing it.
All right.
The side hustle grew to become so busy that my hours looked like this. I would get up at 6 in the morning at the crack of dawn, and I would work on my staging business up until about noon, then get ready and work in City TV till midnight.
Okay.
So I was working 18-hour days.
Right.
It came to a point where the staging business became so busy that I knew I wasn't able to do both well at the same time. So after 3 years of juggling both careers, I made the decision to pursue the staging route.
Right. That reminds me of the way that I actually left my full-time job as well, too. And I think this is where people make the mistake, and I'll let you jump into this, because they don't like their job anymore. Different from you. You did like your job, but there was that side hustle you put together. But then they jump into their next job. But what you did, you actually did your side hustle on the side, and which is a great quote from Jim Rohn, where he says, don't leave your full-time job until your part-time job becomes your full-time job.
That's right.
Right. And that's what I did. I ended up working like 16, 17, 18 hours. I'm like, okay, I now need to see, can this hustle on the side here actually become something?
Right.
Right.
It's the work. If you're leaving your job because, you don't want to work, one thing you can't avoid is the work. I wanted more hours with my daughter, but I actually spent way more time in my business than I ever worked in my entire life. Now, after putting in that time and that sacrifice away from her, I can reap the benefits of saying I finish when I finish and I prioritize her.
Right.
But it wasn't until I bled sweat and tears for 3 to 5 years solid straight.
Right. Yeah, because now you got a good team behind you.
Yes.
Now, what were some of the fears, though? Because there's always a fear when you're making that leap into this new life, this new entrepreneurial world. What was that like? Was there a lot of fear? Was there not fear?
The fear was, is the business going to continue? Like, are people going to continue loving my work, or are people going to no longer call? That was my biggest fear. And my accountant and my bookkeeper would always laugh. They're like, Farah, like, you're showing steady growth year after year,
Right.
I'm like, yeah, but competitors can come out, and there's always this like self-talk, this doubt. I learned this year, though, that you got to hush that talk, and you got to just fill your mind with greatness and seeds of abundance, because it's there. It's there. It's there for the taking. There's enough business for everyone. As long as you're putting out excellence, success will follow.
Was there something that happened, though, even though you loved your job, that made you decide, okay, this is
the time?
I need to do something different. What was that?
Well, actually, at City TV, they were going to promote me, and they were going to ask me to give more of myself to them. Authentically, I could not do that, because I knew that if I took on that added responsibility, that my side hustle would suffer. And if I didn't take on that responsibility, my side hustle would grow. And so I was very honest and open about that. I said, I don't think I have the capacity to be that person for you. And I think that you deserve someone that's going to give this their 100. So I'm going to step away.
And did you step away at that point in time? Oh,
yes.
Really?
Right when they were promoting me.
Really?
Yes.
And then, so how long was your side hustle going on for?
3 years.
Okay.
3 solid years.
Right.
And then I decided to leave. But it was all good. And in fact, we still have great relationships with City TV. I was just there doing City Line. Twice, actually, as a guest. So they were welcomed me with open arms. And they were so excited to see how much the business has grown.
Right.
So I have nothing but good things to say.
Now, somebody that's listening and they're like, okay, I want to start a side hustle. What were some of maybe the key things that you did in the beginning? Like, did you create like a business plan? Did you
No.
sit down and no? You just
I just honestly was creating solutions to problems as they arose.
okay.
I didn't have a plan.
Okay.
Nobody gives you a plan. We needed inventory. I would buy inventory. We needed a scheduling system. I got a scheduling system. Like anytime I was hit with something that could be done better, I was like, hey, I got to focus on that now. And that's it.
Right.
But at the core of everything that I did, I realized that in this industry, it's a people industry. So I always took care of people. What I mean by that is I always put their needs before my own. So if somebody called me at 7 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, I don't do this now, by the way, so don't think I'm going to do this right now. But if someone would
it
call,
does change though, right?
It
Like
does,
in the beginning, you take every call.
You take everything. But
yeah.
then now you start to realize like who's worthy of your time. And sometimes some people, as much as you do for them, they'll never appreciate it. So don't take it all. Take the quality over quantity. But in the beginning, I took everything.
Right.
7 o'clock at night, I'd get a call for I need a stage in 2 days. I didn't have the inventory, didn't have the resources. I would somehow manage to do that to help that person out.
Right.
And so I think that was my reputation in the industry. Like she's dependable, she has quality, she'll be there. And that's kind of, what made me so successful. People recognized me as someone that they knew could help their business.
Right. Yeah. Because during that time as well, too, you're working hard on, the conversations that you're having with your clients, what you said, and you hang up the phone like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said it like this. And so now you're building your skill sets in this new world.
Right.
So that now if your business starts to go in the right direction, you hire people, you can train them.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, were there any particular skill sets that you took from your previous job that you've moved into the staging world that you're in today?
Well, everything that you see on my Instagram, even me having this podcast with you, comes from my broadcasting skills. A lot of the people that are around me say you're so good on camera. Like it's so easy for me to pick up the phone and do a quick video within one take.
Right.
So I feel very like it's a gift that I have to be able to do that. That was an easy transition. I understood the importance of marketing. Like I knew that I had something special and I could put that on Instagram, like the visuals, the process. Hey guys, today we're at this stage and tomorrow we're going to be in Forest Hill and you don't want to miss this because it's going to be epic. We have the most incredible furniture coming in, stuff like that, and that gained a following, which in turn then gained more and more clients.
Right. So and that's a great skill to have as well too, because everything is social media now.
Yes.
And then just right there, that little pitch that you did, like, I don't know, I want to come now.
Right? Are you excited about that Forest Hill stage?
Yeah, 100%.
Right. And that's what I took from broadcasting. I realized that I had stories everywhere around me and they needed to be out because it was so cool to witness.
Right.
And I think that was something that I leveraged in order to propel me into the business that I've grown today.
Yeah. If somebody now is listening again and they're listening to this and they're like, okay, I want to do this, what is like one major tip that you would give them to saying, make sure you do this?
If they want to do staging or just anything in
Staging,
general?
just anything. Any side hustle is saying, okay, make sure this is where I made a mistake and don't do this.
So it's got to be bigger than you. Like if you're doing it because you want to be rich and you want to drive a nice car, that is only going to take you so far. For me, it wasn't until year 5 that I started giving myself a paycheck. I reinvested everything into the business and to the people that worked for me because my I guess my success was seeing the success of my team.
Yep.
And seeing the success of my clients. That's what got me going. Like, holy shit, that house sold for $200,000 over asking. Did I make anything out of that? No, I was probably operating at a loss. But my client succeeded, and that client is still my client today, and I've more than made up for that loss today. Right. So it's like, make sure you're not just thinking about yourself, and don't be so short-sighted. Don't just think about the one transaction you're going to make with the client. Think long term. Think longevity. And I think that's what's going to really help you become a mindset of abundance.
Right. So make sure that one, you're passionate. You have a huge why. It sounds like is what you're saying.
Purpose driven.
Yeah. And when you have a client, make that client for life.
Yes.
Because then they become your biggest cheerleader.
That's right. And that's how you continue to grow. And the money will come. Don't chase the money.
Yeah. That's the hardest part, though,
I
in the
know.
beginning.
A lot of people don't realize.
Because they want that money to come. Like, okay, it's not coming. It's not coming. And then all of a sudden,
Boom.
it just comes. And it's almost like this tap that sometimes you can't even turn off.
Yeah, exactly. I've had to turn away clients.
Yeah.
I'd rather turn them down than let them down. So I mentioned to you before we started this podcast, like, I don't have a big enough warehouse because the leads that are coming in right now, we can't fulfill with our current resources. We need more space. But I've turned away that business, and I'm now in a position where I need to grow. Have you heard of the hockey stick analogy?
Well, I know what a hockey stick looks like.
Well, that's exactly what happens when you're building a business. For a long time, you're going to see very stagnant growth. But it's those that are willing to stay committed to that short period where you're just busting your butt, and then boom, it takes off.
Yeah. There's another quote there too, right? It's darkest before dawn.
That's right.
You know, and a lot of times that's when people give up.
Yeah.
Just when that hockey curve is about to like take off like a rocket ship.
Yep.
Right.
And hey, don't get me wrong. I've had my days where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I just don't know if I can do this. But that's why it's great to have a great team. Because so many times my team has said, we're going to get through this. And they were my source of strength, believe it or not. So, you know, shout out ALT team.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, look, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with a team.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really important because that team can then inspire you, or, you know, you're down and then they get a call from somebody and then they call you and they're all fired up, and then that fired up energy gets you remotivated again as well too.
Yes.
So.
And I'm very particular on who I let into my ALT family. We all have to possess one certain quality that I know is how they're going to succeed, which is they're not afraid to work. Like people that join interior design that are doing it thinking that it's all pretty have another thing coming. There is so much labor, lifting, moving, customer service. There's just so much work involved that you can't avoid. So I know that my people will stay late, come in early if need be without hesitation, because we're all there passionate about what we do and we're not afraid of the work.
Well, it's because they have an incredible leader, right? And so you lead by example. And so they want to, you know, not disappoint you.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is.
That's great.
Yeah, and I see it. I've watched it, and I love what you do. Now, I want to move into the staging process. You know, I think what you do is incredible. I love watching what you've done on Instagram. Can you share like a memorable story that you have where you maybe staged a property and you just kind of took a step back and like, this is incredible?
Yes,
Yeah?
just recently.
Okay.
We were approached by a developer. They made this marvelous, like beautiful mid-century modern custom home in North York. It was on Addison, and it's just at Eglinton and Don Mills.
Yep.
Steps away from the shops at Don Mills, so it's gated too. So I drive in, and you know, I have to say, it pays to be nice.
Yep.
People who are kind, I feel like I want to go that extra mile for. So this is a beautiful house, and you can tell that the builder spent money to make this house perfect. So I can't be coming in there with anything less than excellent. We didn't have inventory. I bought brand new pieces for almost every level of this house.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
But man, was it ever a feeling of success, accomplishment, for him to walk in and say thank you. Because up until the last vacuum, because I was part of that stage and I wanted to be there, and I would vacuum everything, clean everything, and then he walked in and he was speechless. And that to me was the best part.
So you still get involved in some of the hands-on work as well too.
I do, because I love it.
That's awesome.
I love it. And I know that I should be, you know, constantly focusing on where we're going, what's next, how are we going to continue growing. But I also think it's important to enjoy and be a part of what's going on. So I still have my pulse and my finger on it, so I can help direct the team. I'm not completely removed, which is good. I do enjoy it.
I know, I like that, because even for myself as well too, like you do, as you grow your business, you're working yourself out of a job. But even though you're doing that because you're the leader and you're moving in a certain direction, sometimes I still get back down in there because I do enjoy it. And I think if you enjoy a certain aspect of your business, I think you should still continue to do it. Not saying you're going to do that all the time, because obviously you still need leadership and direction, but I don't think there's anything wrong with getting into there every so often. You know?
I was lifting stuff, putting stuff away. I was like, guys, like, look at what we do. We help people with their biggest asset to hopefully sell in a shorter amount of time for the most amount possible. That's a huge gift to the world, I think.
100%.
And it takes a team of people to do that. And if we're all rowing in the same direction and we see that accomplishment at the end, I mean, it should be as rewarding to everybody on the team. And it is. Yeah.
Now, is there a difference between staging a home where it's vacant, or the family still live in there and they still have the furniture in there? What how does that work?
Totally different analogy. So today I did a consultation in Etobicoke, and this was a beautiful house. It had a basketball court in the backyard too. It was stunning. Yeah. Great features.
Did you dunk while you're in there?
I couldn't. I'm a little short for that. But one of the things is that they had their pieces everywhere. A little bit more traditional. Mm-hmm. Not everyone's taste. However, we were able to incorporate some of our pieces blended with theirs to ensure that it's not just one design style, but more universal. Mm-hmm. So when we're doing a stage that has client furniture, it is a little bit more limiting on the amount of high-end furniture we can bring in, because they're living there. Mm-hmm. But we still do our utmost best to make it as marketable as possible. Because a lot of the times homeowners can't see it. Like, it's a little dark in this room. Remove the valance. Let there just be shears in the room. Allow a lot of natural light. Remove your personal artwork off the wall, because that's very custom to your taste. But not everyone will appreciate that. And some buyers won't look past the artwork. They'll think, I can't see myself living here. Right. So as stagers, we have to open up that palette. That house has to be the taste of everyone that walks in there. So my analogy there was to remove some of the dated pieces, mm-hmm. bring in our own, and add white carpets to brighten things like that. So I think it's a little bit more work when we have an occupied home, because it's a little harder for us, as opposed to a vacant home when we can just go in with completely all our stuff, right?
Right, yeah. Because, you get that homeowner that, like, what do you mean? This, coffee table's ugly.
Yes, we hear that a lot.
Because, that's their taste. That's
I wouldn't use the word ugly.
Right.
I would use that it's your personal taste.
Correct.
However, I would tell the homeowner that, this is no longer your house. Right. And we need to strip your personality from the house and make it more of a universal sort of home for everyone else that's looking to buy here.
Mm-hmm. And that comes with experience. That comes with being able to communicate that properly to that homeowner, to make sure that, okay, I get it. I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from, based on the experience that you've had with the amount of stages that you've done over the year.
Exactly. Yeah. I always tell them, I'm here to make you the most amount of money possible.
Yeah, that's
so
key.
If you and I are on the same goal to make you money, then stay out of my way. Yeah. Let me do what I do.
What are some of the misconceptions about staging? Some people say, I don't need to stage. Like, what are some of them?
Rarely do you find a home that you just put the sign on and it's perfect and ready to go. That's very rare. Some of the misconceptions, I guess realtors don't understand sometimes how much work is really involved. Take, for instance, the past 2 weeks, we were inundated with lead and call. I need a stage. All of a sudden, it was just influx of leads that came through. Now, our capacity is 4 stages a day, because we also have to account for D stages. So we would like to do about 6 jobs a day. So that's 4 stages and perhaps 2 D stages.
Right.
Client calls, good client of mine, I need the stage earlier. Like, what do you mean? Well, it's not as easy as just me coming there with a product, right? There's moving resources, there's furniture allocation, plus the time that it takes to design. That is a process. So, I want my realtors to understand that we never just bring fluff to a room. Please don't ever call it fluff. Come fluff up the space.
Right.
These are actual staging techniques that we know are going to help the buyer envision themselves living there and help the house look bigger and brighter. Everything we do is very deliberate in staging. It's marketing. Mm-hmm. It's not just, that looks pretty, let's put it there. No, if there's a mirror in the particular room, it's put there because we're trying to bounce light and create space. So please don't diminish that with the use of just need some fluff pillows. No, you don't. You need warmth. You need emotion.
Yeah.
That's what we're bringing to the table.
Yeah. It's not just a karate chop and a pillow. There's something.
There's a technique.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I bet after you do 100 of them like my team, you can do it with your eyes closed. But until then, you haven't. And you wouldn't know how hard it is to even do that small thing.
Yeah. So then how do you stay up to date then on like the latest trends and the latest like innovations that are happening within the staging world? Yeah, in the industry.
Well, I go to a lot of conferences. That's where you and I met. So I'm always learning, and I also do secret calls to my competitors.
Okay.
I think you had given me a name of somebody that I called in the Durham region, just to make sure that, what's being offered is fairly competitive, or how do we be the best choice for everybody, right? So I do a lot of that internal research. And I attend conferences as well. So I have a good idea of what's going on in the industry. In terms of design trends, now, when you're staging, it's not design. So irregardless of what's happening with the design trends, every specific house is different. If we're in a more traditional home, we're not going to just bring you the latest design trends, like the Scandinavian bohemian look that's going on right now, into a traditional home. That's not going to do anything for that home.
Right.
Instead, we're going to bring you modern plus traditional, bring you something contemporary that blends those two design styles together, and to ensure that the house is marketed as much as possible. So every house is different. So we have to keep a wide repertoire of different styles to keep up with what the house needs and who's the demographic we're staging for.
Right.
Not to mention, I don't know if there's a lot of people in this industry that will invest in the amount of furniture that I invest in. Like, I just bought 12 nightstands at $400 a pop.
Jeez. That's crazy.
Okay.
There's so much moving pieces in the staging world that I think a lot of times people just don't understand or appreciate it. They're like, okay, come stage my home. It's like, well, hold on a second.
Hold on.
We got to get the furniture. I got to come take a look at the property. We got to take a look at decluttering the things that's in the home. Then we got to get the furniture there. It's so many different moving pieces.
You got to unpack it from the warehouse. You got to set it up to make sure it's cohesive. Then you got to load it in the truck. The guy's got to offload it into the home. Then we got to set it all up. And then once all the furniture is there, it needs to be cleaned, steamed, iron pressed, vacuumed, mopped. Like, it's a lot. And then we do a final walkthrough with the homeowner to ensure that they're ultimately happy. Yeah.
Then photography. Then you got to line that up as well too. And then you got to make sure. Then all of a sudden, and I'm sure this must get to you sometimes, right? Now all of a sudden, a photographer comes in to take a picture, and all of a sudden, oh, come this was moved, or I'm sure that happens a lot.
Yes. If the photography isn't right after we leave, oftentimes some realtors will clean after staging. It's a big mistake.
Right. So how do you do all that? So let's kind of maybe touch on the whole collaboration of the photographer and the real estate agent. And is there anything else?
So our process is very simple. You would just go to our website, fill out a form. What we need essentially is your email, your phone number, the address, and a little bit of details like, is the house vacant? Is there current furniture there? When is your ideal stage date? Once we get that information, we're able to say, okay, are we able to do this in this time frame? Do we need a floor plan? Do we need to book a consultation? We'll call you. We'll discuss that. And we'll ask you. So make sure that the house is cleaned prior to us arriving. Make sure that the photographer usually is after us so that nothing's moved. So we'll set a date. So
like that same date typically? Okay.
Yeah, we talk about the timeline with our realtors because we got to work in cohesion here,
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll book a consultation only if the house is occupied and requires it. If the house is not occupied and it's vacant, we'll say, send us some photos, send us a floor plan. Within the next day or so, they'll get a quote. If they approve, they pay, it's scheduled, we go in, we stage. And then when it's sold, we destage. It's so seamless for the realtor. And the reason we're able to provide that is because we have so many systems in place on the back end that allow us to do it one after another, 4 times a day, perfectly.
Right. How did you deal with the challenges, once those interest rates went up? Did you guys experience issues during that time? All of a sudden now you've got homes that are staged and now all of a sudden they're not selling.
They're not selling.
Yeah. How did you work through all of that?
I was behind my realtors. As opposed to offering 30-day staging terms, I offered 60-day staging terms, 90-day staging terms. So we all took a hit. It wasn't like, too bad for you, so sad you're not selling, I'm going to destage. No. furniture was sitting in these properties for longer than I think anyone can anticipate.
Yeah.
So when new leads would come up and I didn't have furniture to supply them with, I would buy. But there was a point last quarter where it was just radio silence. Like, I had been so used to my phone ringing on its own automatically. And for the first time ever, I was like, what is this? So instead of buckling under pressure, I started door knocking realtors, going to different brokerages and making bigger connections so that we could see more business. And man, did that ever pan out this year, because as of January, we have been consistently busy.
Yeah.
So I'd never say it's the market. Oh, the market's bad, the market's good. No, it all comes down to you and your hustle.
Can't agree with you more. Same thing with us as well too in our business. And we work with a lot of real estate investors that they were calling us. They were always calling us. And we also did a lot of events, so we didn't really had to reach out, and all of a sudden, boom, it just went up, and it just went crickets.
Right.
And so we had to change.
Yes.
And this is always comes down to this, is always being ready to pivot and adapt.
Yes.
You got to pivot and adapt. And, we brought in a couple new realtors on our team last year, and they said, Gary, is now the right time to be getting into the market because, we're in a downturn?
The best time.
The best time. 100% is the best time, because then this will happen again.
Yeah, and
maybe not exactly like this, but you will have a downturn, and you'll know what you have to do.
Yeah, exactly. I can't agree with that more. Now, when it was happening, don't get me wrong, I was shitting bricks. Like, I was
too.
Like, how am I going to pay for my staff? Like, how are we going to keep this business going?
Yeah.
But it didn't stop me from door knocking with a smile on my face. I was always the champion in the warehouse. Like, it's going to be good. It's not busy, but so what? We need to organize this. I kept my team busy. I kept them, without even the business there. And I think they see that in me. They're like, she didn't tell us not to come in. We still worked even though it wasn't busy. And I think that give and take relationship is why they love me so much, I hope.
They do. You can see it in the videos. You can see it when you're at those conferences. You can see it. There's love for you. And that kind of brings me on to my last point here in segment is, how do you keep your business going? I think this is a good kind of a segue into it. And how do you keep your employees motivated and the people that are on your team?
Well, there's a few ways I do that. One is I give them a purpose behind everything that we do. Like, I share with them our successes.
Yep.
Guys, that house that you staged, it sold in 3 days, and the seller made this much from the work that you guys did. So there's purpose. So they feel like they're helping society in what we do. The second, obviously, is monetary. I pay them well. Everyone has benefits, and there's bonuses.
Yep.
Plus, we do a corporate party once a month for culture.
Once a month? Okay.
Yes, once
Awesome.
a month.
Yeah.
We do that. And I celebrate them. Like today, one of my lead moving guys celebrated 3 years with my company. Champagne toast, bring it out. Like, that's a huge accomplishment for him and I.
I love that.
Right? So I and then the third thing is autonomy. I don't micromanage my team. Like, I trust them. They come in, they do as they please. As long as the work is getting done and my clients are happy, you will not hear from me.
Yeah. I love that you share the success stories and let everybody know, this is what we've done this month. Look at this. This is amazing. Keep up the good work. Let's celebrate every month.
100%.
I love it. I think that's
it's
great.
about making magical moments for them. If it's just clock in, clock out, that sucks. It's boring.
Right.
But if you're like, man, like, there's a vibe here. There's music always on in the warehouse. Some
Right.
people don't like the music, but they'll never tell me because I love energy.
Yeah.
And so we're playing reggae, or we're playing country, or you know what I mean? So there's always music. I think that has a good energy effect to it. And, people are just for it. You could feel it when you walk in.
I know. I got to come check this out. Because then also, too, you get that little mini mic going around. and like, I guess they never know if they're going to be on camera or on the mic. And it's great. It's a good culture. It's a good energy in there.
Yeah, and everybody enjoys being there. That's the best part. And when I say this to my team, if one person comes in here with a bad attitude, it will affect all of us.
Right.
So please check yourself at the door. Even if you're not feeling good today, because we're not perfect, we're human, pretend.
Yeah.
I do it. You'll never know if I'm pissed off.
Right.
So
I
yeah,
agree.
so I think having those like systems in place in terms of culture is so important. I will never tolerate somebody with attitude.
So how do you do your hiring process? Like, do you do it yourself? Do you
No.
have an HR department now?
I do.
Yeah.
So we contract an HR department, and I'll let them know what I need.
Yeah.
They will line up a slew of Zoom interviews that they've done, and then they'll send me the top 3, and then I'll pick from those,
Okay.
from who I like.
How big is your team now?
12.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long has the company been around for?
8 years.
That's incredible.
16, yeah, 8 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I know. It's so unreal. Like, what? And if you told me 5 years from now that we'd be doing this,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah. It's an incredible feeling building your business and seeing your vision and your ideas happening. And I say not there because you're not there yet. It's still happening as you're doing this, right?
We're not even close. I have this like internal, like, I don't know if it's God driven or spiritual driven, but like I've always been led. Like, I feel like there's been this inner voice that's sort of pushed me into making decisions that ultimately benefited myself and everyone around me. Where that voice comes from, I think it's from above. Like, I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
But I am very in tune with it. And right now that voice is saying, you're about to go into an abundance of success. You're experiencing it now, but it's going to continue to grow. But it needs to be more than just you and the team and the people you serve. Like, what are we going to do with this? Like, how are we going to really make an impact on community or society or someone else's life?
Yeah, so you're like big on the energy. You're big on feeling it and
Yes.
that gut instinct of like, I'm going the right way or I'm not going the right way. Like, you have
Yeah.
to feel it.
Yeah, like
and then that's that you're being pulled by something more powerful than
That's
you.
bigger than me. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a charity or if it's time, but there is something calling me that needs to be bigger than monetary, more of a service base that we're really giving back for the amount of blessings that we've experienced. I feel like it needs to be shared or reciprocated.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's always trying to, and that's part of that whole pivoting and adapting as well too. And I'll share something with you. Like, you know that I've done like a lot of real estate investing over the years, and with everything that's happening in the market, I've actually shifted it to now create this class, which is an affordability workshop. Because there's so many families that want to get into home ownership. And I'm like, okay, I want to service them now. I want to help them get into it and show them, hey, here's how you can do it. Here's how you can cut your mortgage payments in half. You can get into the market despite what's happening.
Right.
You know,
Isn't that fulfilling? Like,
100%
so
it is.
fulfilling.
Yeah. And so I'm always trying to stay in tune with what's happening and try to silence it and say, okay, this is the direction that I need to go.
Yeah.
Right, as opposed to, well, this is going to make me more money.
Yeah, but making money is great.
For sure.
You know, right now, my needs are met. Like, I have, that saying, you keep feeding stuffed bellies. Like, what more I don't need anything more. I have everything I could ever want and plus more. And so does my daughter and so does my husband. What's more fulfilling for me is being able to look back and help someone else now.
Yeah.
That's going to make me feel whole.
Service to many leads to greatness.
Right.
Yeah. Now, your business in regards to what you guys do on a day-to-day basis, is everything in-house or do you do any outsourcing?
Everything is in-house, except on the interior design side, we do outsource contractors.
Okay. So you do have so contractors, meaning like the people who are going to come in and do some painting or just kind of clean the house up. You know, to get it ready for staging.
We do not take care of moving the furniture out that belongs to the seller. The seller's furniture needs to be moved by a professional moving company. We are not a professional moving company. We are a staging company.
Right.
That's often something that we get asked, and I'm very stern with saying no. Just because you see fit guys in the house does not qualify them to move your antique furniture, because I tried doing that early on, and it was a big lesson learned, because one, the item was way too heavy for the guys, fell, broke, damaged the house, and the guy got hurt.
Yeah.
Slew of lawsuits there, right?
And listen, those antique furnitures, the way they made them back in the 70s, They're heavy as
They're
hell.
heavy.
Solid wood.
And when you start saying yes to everybody and trying to be a big hero, you end up looking like a big zero. So I put some strict boundaries in place for me and my team. When it comes to moving client furniture, we won't even move a chair.
Okay.
That's how strict I am with it.
Yeah. How do you manage work-life balance for your team? Because I know it's important to you and Robbie and your daughter, but what about your team?
Everyone gets the weekends off, holidays paid.
Really?
They're done at 5, 6 max.
No weekends?
No.
Okay.
Everyone's living good at ALT.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I think it's very healthy because I'd rather them get the rest they need and come in 100 than be putting in 50% because, they're working on the weekends. It's important that they're with their family. What I breathe, I help them enjoy as well. Like, I know how important it is for me to re-up my cup when I'm with my family on the weekend. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to do my work with as much vigor and passion as I do.
Right. Do you think you were born a leader?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay.
I've always felt like I was I needed to be in control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you think you got that from? Like your parents? Was that kind of instilled in you?
I was always around, like my father is a leader, my brothers are leaders, my mom's a leader in her own right. I don't know. I feel like I don't like to wait to get things done. It needs to get done right away. I'm the first one to do it. I will sacrifice myself for other people. I've done that even at a young age. Like the story is coming up because I think I was late for after lunch coming to class, and we were like, listen, why don't we just call a cab to get there because we got to write this test. And the cab driver, even though there was 5 of us, the cab driver was like, I can only take 4. And I was like, you guys go and I'll take the brunt of it.
Right.
And I still remember that. Or like, a night out with my girlfriend, somebody wasn't feeling well, like I carried her home. And I feel like that's really a leader. A leader isn't like showboating or anything like that. A leader is putting themselves last for the goodness of the community.
I love that.
I think that's a good leader.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Anything else on staging that we didn't maybe touch on that, like if somebody's listening and they're like, okay, well, you know what, I got another stager, but why should I use Farah?
If you want dependability, you want quality, call us. But I don't want to steal business from anyone, and I want everyone to get their fair share of the business. But I do want to end with this. Stop looking at staging as an expense, but more look at it like an investment in your brand as a realtor, in your marketing, because how you do anything is how you do everything. So invest with somebody who is going to bring forth excellent quality every time, not just one-offs, but every time, someone dependable. That's who you want on your team. And when you start looking at it like an investment, you start sharing that sort of knowledge with your seller. So if your seller goes, I don't know, it seems expensive. If your house is worth $1 million, you're spending less than 1%. In fact, 0.5% on the asking price of your home to obtain potentially tens to hundreds of thousands in the sale. What bank interest rate is going to give you that? What stock is going to give you that in your return on investment, where you're putting forth $2,500, but essentially earning potentially 10 to 100,000 more in the sale? It's really is a no-brainer. So whether you're using ALT or any staging company, you just want to make sure that staging company is using results-proven techniques that will actually help the seller get that kind of return on their investment.
Well said. I am going to cut this last question out, and I'm going to take it to all of my clients.
Listeners?
And then my clients, and just play that part.
Yes.
Here's why you need staging.
That's it.
Because it's so important. It makes such a huge difference. It really does. Whether it's vacant or even if it's got they're living in there and it's occupied, it's so important to get somebody to come in and to do the proper walkthrough consultation, and then have the experts guide you through that whole entire process. There's a reason why, real estate agents are used in stages. There's a reason why you hire professionals and listen to the professionals' advice.
That's right. And even if you spend $350 on a consultation and report, and the seller does 50% of what's on that report, you've already added tremendous value to them. And in a competitive world of real estate, you want to align yourselves with the giants of other industries to present yourself as why they should go with you. Because if you're up against a 1% realtor on $1 million deal, they're making $10,000. Ask your seller, what is that person making after they pay brokerage fees, cleaning, advertising, and then staging? They're making nothing. Why are they motivated to get you top dollar? They're not.
Right, 100%.
But if you're working with somebody that's going to get you top dollar in terms of advancing the lighting, advancing the painting, doing staging, then spending on ads, show them what you're investing to get them potentially $100,000 more. Without even blinking, they'll sign with you at 2.5%.
Yeah.
And you're not diluting the real estate industry, you're enhancing it.
Right. And that's the tough part, though, for that seller. I get it. They think that they're trying to save money, but all of a sudden, they realize, hey, well, why is my home not selling with this 1% realtor? Because they're not putting, there's a great Instagram video where this guy comes up to this woman's house and he goes, hey, you're going to pay 2.5%? I can do it for 1%.
Right.
And then he goes into the house and she goes, what are you doing? And he has like the furniture. He's like, this is 1%, remember? And then he goes outside and he has like this picture of a for sale sign on a cardboard box.
For 1%. That's what you get.
Well, you remember 1%.
Yeah.
And so you get what you pay for.
I mean, you might as you could sell it yourself at that point.
Yeah.
Just put it out on by your own. You're getting the same amount of value. Stop looking at it as a cost. Look at things in terms of value.
Yeah, and as an investment. Yeah, 100%.
So that's what I want to leave.
Awesome. Farah, listen, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You're a wealth of knowledge. Lots of great insight there.
Thank you.
If anybody wants to get a hold of you or use your services, how can they do that?
altinteriors.ca. Visit our website. It's that simple. altinteriors.ca.
I love it. That sounds just like a commercial.
I had my radio. I had my reporter voice on.
I love it. Farah, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Gary.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.